Today I'll be discussing the molecular orbital diagrams for heteronuclear molecules. There are two types that we need to know. Firstly, there are the heteronuclear diatomic molecules like carbon monoxide, hydrogen fluoride and so on. And then there are the heteronuclear triatomic molecules like carbon dioxide, water and so on. So we'll go one step at a time, and first we'll discuss the diatomic molecules and then move on to the triatomic molecules. Before we go into the details, there is something that we need to understand, that is the covalent bond energy. As you can see in this diagram, this is a molecular orbital energy diagram for a homonuclear diatomic molecule, and this is the molecular orbital energy level diagram for a heteronuclear diatomic molecule. See, in this case where the two electronegativities are same, the atomic orbitals have same energy. Here this is the antibonding molecular orbital and this is the bonding molecular orbital. The relative energy of the bonding molecular orbital gives us the covalent bond energy, as has been represented here. In case of the heteronuclear diatomic molecule, this atom has higher electronegativity and therefore a lower energy of its atomic orbitals than this atom. So in this case, the delta E covalent has reduced compared to the homonuclear diatomic molecule. So as the electronegativity difference between the two combining atoms increases, the covalent nature of the molecule decreases, till ultimately when the electronegativity difference between the two combining atoms is too high, the molecule becomes purely ionic and there is very little covalent contribution. So what we need to take away from this is, firstly, as the two combining atoms differ in electronegativity, their energy levels differ. That is, the more electronegative atom has a lower energy. The second thing to take away from this is, here the bonding molecular orbital has greater contribution from the more electronegative atom, and the antibonding molecular orbital has greater contribution from the less electronegative atom. Now moving on to the specific examples. The first easiest example is hydrogen fluoride. As you can see, this is the 2s of the fluorine atom while this is the 1s of the hydrogen atom. This huge difference is because of the fact that fluorine is much more electronegative than hydrogen. So the 1s of fluorine is so far below that it is not even drawn in the diagram. It has become an inner electron. So we consider from 2s. 2s electrons still cannot combine with any of the electrons from hydrogen because of the fact that there is no energy matching. If you remember correctly, for molecular orbitals to form, there need to be two factors matching. The first factor is energy match and the second is symmetry match. So in this case, there is no atomic orbital of hydrogen which is close enough in energy to the 2s atomic orbital of fluorine to cause overlap. So the 2s electrons remain as non-bonding electrons, which have been represented here. The 2p electrons, on the other hand, undergo overlap with the 1s electrons of hydrogen. If you remember the first session correctly, there are three atomic orbitals in case of 2p, 2px, 2py and 2pz. If we consider the z to be the molecular axis or the axis along which bond formation happens, then 1s will undergo sigma overlap with pz, and the px and the py will remain as non-bonding orbitals. So that has been represented here. See, the 1s has undergone overlap with the 2pz to form one bonding molecular orbital and one anti-bonding molecular orbital, while the 2px and 2py have remained as non-bonding molecular orbitals. Then the next step is filling in the electrons. So hydrogen atom has one electron, and over here the fluorine, since we are not considering the 1s, we have filled in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 electrons in the 2s and 2p orbitals. So total there are 7 electrons here and 1 electron here, so that is 8 electrons. That has been filled in the molecular orbitals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is the molecular orbital energy level diagram for HF. This molecular energy diagram holds true for all hydrogen halides, that is HF, HCl, HBr and so on. Moving on to the next diagram, which is the molecular orbital energy level diagram for carbon monoxide. Here again the 1s orbitals have not been considered because they are internal orbitals, that is they do not contribute to bond formation. They are too low in energy, so they have not been drawn here. Now what needs to be understood here is, see, oxygen 2s2 2p4, carbon 2s2 2p2. 2s and 2p have been drawn here, and over here this is the oxygen 2s and 2p. Since oxygen is more electronegative than carbon, that is why all the atomic orbitals are of lower energy than those of carbon. The 2s undergoes overlap with this 2s to give one sigma bonding orbital and one sigma anti-bonding orbital. And here the 2p and this 2p, they undergo overlap to form pi bonding orbitals, pi anti-bonding orbitals, sigma bonding orbitals and sigma anti-bonding orbitals. So now why are they not in perfect order? The reason is that, see, over here there are more mixings involved. So this isn't just an overlap between this 2s and this 2s. As you can see from the dots, this 2s has contribution towards these two, also towards this, also towards that. So basically this 2s has a contribution towards all the sigma molecular orbitals that are there, that is 3 sigma, 4 sigma, 5 sigma, 6 sigma. Similarly this 2s also has contribution to all the sigma molecular orbitals that are there. Similarly this 2p, that is the 2p from oxygen, contributes towards all the molecular orbitals, maybe to a lesser extent and a greater extent, but it contributes to all of them. This is the molecular orbital energy level diagram for carbon monoxide. A similar molecular orbital energy level diagram can be drawn for Cn minus, NO and so on, but of course the number of electrons will be different. Over here, which is the, firstly we need to know the bond order. So bond order is number of bonding electrons minus number of anti-bonding electrons divided by 2. So over here the number of bonding electrons is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So bond order will be 8 minus 2 divided by 2, which is 3. So the bond order of carbon monoxide is 3. Now the next thing that we need to know is what is the HOMO and what is the LUMO. In case of carbon monoxide, the HOMO or the highest occupied molecular orbital is the 5 sigma, which in this case is essentially localized on carbon, because this has huge contributions from this 2s and this 2p. So the HOMO is localized on carbon. It can be treated as a lone pair of electrons localized on carbon. And what is the LUMO? The lowest unoccupied molecular orbital in case of carbon monoxide is 2 pi, which is again on carbon, because this has greatest contribution from the carbon 2p. So this is the reason why a very common question that is asked is why in case of carbon monoxide is the giving of electrons and the accepting of electrons both on carbon. This is the reason why, because in case of carbon monoxide the HOMO and the LUMO both are localized on carbon. Another very common question that is asked is compare the molecular orbital energy level diagrams and the electron donating and accepting properties of dinitrogen with CO. So the reason for that is because they are isoelectronic, that is both CO and dinitrogen have 14 electrons. But there is a major difference, the difference being N2 is a homonuclear diatomic molecule. So in that case the sp mixing and all of that is of a slightly different nature, and in case of CO it is a heteronuclear diatomic molecule. So the difference in the energy levels of atomic orbitals of C and O also has to be considered. So in case of dinitrogen, the HOMO and the LUMO will be much more straightforward, and over there will be no confusion regarding where the electrons will enter and go from. In case of CO, there might be a little bit of a confusion because of this 5 sigma, although it appears to be, but it isn't localized on oxygen. Both the HOMO as well as the LUMO are localized on carbon.